Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we're here again at Matchless Gifts to do some reading of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And just a little bit to see this painting here. So there was an original like that here at the time when Srila Prabhupada was here. But I don't know, maybe they didn't have it, or maybe it was a bit dilapidated. But they got this one painted by a devotee, an artist in India. And it's a replica of that one. And that lady was with us last night. She was here, so it was really nice to meet her. She was the artist who replicated that beautiful painting. So, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we're going to be reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam today. Would you like to say where we're going to be reading from?
Okay. Canto 4, Chapter 16, Text 5.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Text 5. This king alone in his own body will be able in due course of time to maintain all living entities and keep them in a pleasant condition by manifesting himself as different demigods to perform various departmental activities. Thus he will maintain the upper planetary system by inducing the populace to perform Vedic sacrifices. In due course of time, he will also maintain this earthly planet by discharging proper rainfall.
Sounds like a very powerful personality.
Purport. The demigods in charge of the various departmental activities that maintain this world are but assistants to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When an incarnation of Godhead descends to this planet, demigods like the sun god, the moon god, or the king of heaven, Indra, all join him. Consequently, the incarnation of Godhead is able to act for the departmental demigods to keep the planetary systems in order. The protection of the earthly planet is dependent on proper rainfall. And as stated in Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures, sacrifices are performed to please those demigods who are in charge of rainfall. Anan bhavanti bhutani pajanyad anasambhava yajnad bhavati panayanyo yagna kama samudbhava. That's Bhagavad Gita 3.14. All living bodies subsist on food grains which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yagya, sacrifice, and yagya is born of prescribed duties. And that interesting because it's a little bit rainy today actually, and I ain't got any socks on. But yes, so you need to know. But I was just thinking, because in the Bhagavatam class today at the Bhakti Center, the point was brought up about leaders, and people who are leaders and they want power and authority and prestige. And at the moment here in the US, this is election year, so there's definitely some jostling for power and authority going on, and dirty politics, as it were, to get there. But I was thinking it's so irrelevant whoever, we're not name dropping because we're not that sort of channel, but
This isn't a political channel, even though every time my wonderful wife speaks, she brings...
No, I ain't mentioning, but whoever gets into the post of the President of the United States of America, they call it POTUS for short, or POTUS, but POTUS really. Anyway, it's irrelevant if the next day after you win the election or you're sworn in and, you know, you think, whoa, my God, you're not just running a department or whatever, or in charge of the stationery cupboard. You're like in charge of the whole of the United States of America. The next day, there's a drought, and it goes on for 1, 2, 3, 4 days, goes on for a week, a month, several months. It is irrelevant who you are as far as being the president, being in charge of the treasury, being the sports minister, being the health minister. You are completely powerless to the material nature. You will be begging the form of the Lord in whatever form you may think of him or her. Even if you don't, you will start thinking, because we will die. We will not have food. People will not, it will be a calamity, especially for countries that are not equipped for that. If you go into Sudan, if you go to Ethiopia, if you go into Sudan, countries, they live in that level of austerity or lack of basic rainfall, water. And, so USA, England, it would be a disaster. So when you're reading this, it's like people may be like, oh, what's this God business? What is, and then demigods and someone's in charge of rain and wind. Yes, there is someone in charge of rain and wind. And actually, as Prabhupada says, you should try to please them because it's in your benefit. Ultimately, you should try to please the person who oversees them, Krishna, because he will definitely sort you out in a good way. But I was just thinking, we are so dependent on these basic necessities: rain, wind. We need wind. We need sun. We need light. It's like air. We need air, as it were. It's oxygen, and all these things are not controlled and governed by who's in charge of the country. At all.
Completely out of their control in one sense. Although here we see that a proper leader has such a powerful connection with God, that the connection with those devatas, those demigods in charge of the basic, I guess you could say, necessities or forces of nature, that they automatically are maybe not exactly subservient, but they certainly cooperate with that leader.
Right.
Okay, next paragraph. Nice point. Thus, the proper execution of yajna, sacrifice, is required. As indicated herein, King Prithu alone would induce all the citizens to engage in such sacrificial activities so that there would not be scarcity or distress. So what the leader encourages is everyone to perform yajna, to perform sacrifice. Therefore, there won't be any shortage. In Kali Yuga, however, in the so-called secular state, the executive branch of the government is in charge of so-called kings and presidents, is in the charge of so-called kings and presidents, who are all fools and rascals, ignorant of the intricacies of nature's causes and ignorant of the,
It's too ignorant.
Ignorant of the intricacies of nature's causes and ignorant of the principles of sacrifice. Such rascals simply make various plans which always fail, and the people subsequently suffer disturbances. To counteract this situation, the Shastra advises Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nashteva, Nashteva, Nashteva Gatiranyata. Thus, in order to counteract this unfortunate situation in government, the general populace is advised to chant the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, a couple things come to mind. One serious, one funny. Serious is that Prabhupada basically just addresses what you more or less just said, and he just goes straight for the jugular, as they say, and saying that these government officials are just simply fools and rascals. They're meant to be doing so many things, but they basically aren't. And he said, why? Because they're ignorant of the intricacies of nature's causes. Means that they think that science can manipulate it. Like I was just hearing, I heard this before, but recently I saw, I think in the news, how there was some flooding earlier in the year in Dubai. And now they're looking into whether this method that they've created in Dubai, which is called cloud seeding, where they basically somehow inject moisture or seeds of rain into the clouds to create regular rainfall. By the way, Dubai is a desert area, so it's just not normal. So because of this type of manipulation, it's like people think they can manipulate. So this is leadership. I think I can manipulate the material energy to work the way that I want. Meanwhile, she turns around and sends a flood, and you're like, what can you do? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So, sorry, you're going to say something?
Well, I didn't want to interject, but I'll interject. Just small point on that point, because someone was on the news, they were saying, oh, the millionaires are stuck in their Rolls Royce and this one's in his luxury airplane, and this one, as if you're supposed to feel sorry for these people who went there to enjoy in a certain way. And like you said, you're in a desert, but you want this, you want this, you want this, you want you want to create paradise, as it were, or you want heavenly planets without God.
Yeah.
Basically.
Want the kingdom of God without God.
Yeah.
And the other thing Prabhupada says is they're also ignorant of the principles of sacrifice. Now, both of these are really big, powerful topics, and I like that. I might highlight them and come up with something on that. But ignorant of the principles principles of sacrifice. So first of all, sacrifice means that I give up something that I value as an offering. I let go of it and I give it away. I sacrifice something, whatever that might be: time, energy, money, intelligence, energy, what in different ways. So whatever it might be, but I sacrifice something. That's one aspect of a principle of sacrifice. But then the different types of sacrifices that have been prominent in different yugas, and more precisely, as Prabhupada just hits the nail on the head, with this Hare Nam Eva Kevalam, that in this age, the sacrifice that is recommended according to Shastra and inaugurated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So that's the serious. Now the funny, and maybe Bhava Bhakti can tell the funny. It's about the Nasti Eva.
I believe I just said that point in 2 vlogs ago.
Oh, it was. Oh, it was on this vlog. Okay. Nasti Eva. Feel sorry for that nasty Eva. Okay. Okay, so it wasn't very funny. And if you missed that vlog, you'll have to go back and watch them again. Okay, let's see. Do one more, I guess.
All right, text 6. This King Prithu will be as powerful as the sun god, and just as the sun god equally distributes his sunshine to everyone, King Prithu will distribute his mercy equally. Similarly, just as the sun god evaporates water for 8 months and during the rainy season returns it profusely, this king will also exact taxes from the citizens and return these monies in times of need. The process of tax exaction is very nicely explained in this verse. Tax exaction is not meant for the sense gratification of the so-called administrative heads. tax revenue should be distributed to the citizens in times of need, during emergencies such as famine or flood. Yeah, you don't do all these campaigns to get money, which is what they do, isn't it? What have you done with all my taxes all these years? Anyway, tax revenues should never be distributed amongst governmental servants in the form of high salaries and various other allowances. But that's what they do.
Yeah.
In Kali Yuga, however, the position of the citizens is very horrible, because taxes are exacted in so many forms and are spent for the personal comforts of the administrators. That's so true, and it's so sad. Even when we were driving the other week or so from New York to Maryland, or Maryland as they say. Oh, I think it was there. Yeah, we had to stop semi-regularly to pay tax. Tolls.
We didn't pay any coals, by the way.
Tolls. And you look. First of all, you look at the state of the road and the state of the people. But anyway, it's like, why am I paying for it? What? Just to go on a God-given path?
Well, that's an interesting point, because the path wasn't God-given. The path was paved by the government, and the government says, therefore, you have to pay for it. And then the maintenance and upkeep. So in one sense, it makes sense.
Not until Mother Earth comes and does an earthquake and lets you know who actually controls and owns this path.
Yes, and
then they'll increase the tolls to fix it.
Yes, of course.
Anyway, I'm just having a rant.
No. All right, next paragraph. The example of the sun in this verse is very appropriate. The sun is many millions of miles away from the earth, and although the sun does not actually touch the earth, it manages to distribute land all over the planet by exacting water from the oceans and seas, and it also manages to make the land fertile by distributing water during the rainy season. As an ideal king, King Prithu would execute all this business in the village and state as expertly as the sun. Interesting, a few things in there that I found interesting. One is it also manages to make land fertile, yes, by distributing water during the rainy season. It does not actually touch the earth, it manages to distribute land all over the planet. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting the way that it's written. I found it a little difficult to read. On reading it again, I think basically I'm understanding that the sun doesn't actually touch the earth, but it manages to distribute land all over the planet. Now that seems strange, doesn't it? How does the sun distribute land? Hello. The sun actually, in general, distributes light or heat. That's what we understand. But it says, Prabhupada says it manages to distribute land all over the planet by exacting water from the oceans and seas. So basically, in one sense, you could say that the earth is covered by water, and because of the sun, water is extracted, or he's using the word exacted, is taken out, and that leaves land. Yeah, makes sense? You with me? You with me? Okay. Then, Prabhupada says, and it being the sun, also manages to make the land fertile by distributing water during the rainy season. So and this is a very good example, I guess, in one sense. But you exact the water, land is created, you redistribute the water in a proper way, and it fertilizes the water and produces basically the things that people need to live by, because it fertilizes it. It's quite an interesting statement, but the way it's written was a little bit hard to read for me at first. Does that make sense? You think that's right?
Yes, correct.
Well, very good. So I think we'll finish there. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Please remember to like,
Subscribe,
share.
comment.
Okay, thank you everyone. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila
Hare
Prabhupada,
Krishna.
26 Second Avenue, Key.
Jai.